Hello everyone and welcome to another Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite news update. So this one is a little more speculative, but it also is grounded in some good hard facts. So let's get in. As you've seen from the title, Zero for Mega Man X and /or Amaterasu from Okami might be confirmed for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Now, this is kind of speculative on my behalf, because what happened is there was one guy on Twitter and Reddit named 10 Count Fall who posted a alleged leak entire roster, and what came out of it was basically everyone called it out as pretty much fake. It had, I'm just going to run through it quickly. Ryu, Rashid, Chun-Li, Zangief, Gil, Morgan, John Talbane, Tessa, Mega Man X, Sigma, Roll, Strider, Jin, Captain Commando, Falcon, Asura, Jean, Dante, Leon, Ada, Wesker, Nina from Breath of Fire 2, Spencer, Simon Blackwell, Phoenix Wright, Rathalos, Masamune Date, Batsu, June, Frank West for the Capcom side, and then a fairly sort of a Marvel side that is slightly less fandom-y. The only big things that are crazy are like Fin Fang Foom as a rival to Rathalos, Squirrel Girl, and Gwenpool. But for the most part, the Marvel side I had no problems with. It's that Capcom side that everyone was like, I don't know about that. Especially, I talked about Edward Falcon before, he was on there, but the thing though that everyone sort of said, yeah, this is fake, especially when he started saying how games like Power Stone are going to be coming back. They chose Simon Blackwell because he can be a normal fighter. There's all this, he put in way too much information, and that's one thing. People who leak information like this, quote unquote, get greedy usually, saying, it's a lot of it is very much just there's no way, because he knows way too much and it can't be right. And thankfully, we had some confirmations, including one from Rice, who we knew about last time, was talking about the villain that was in the game. And actually, it's funny, because if you go to 10 Count Fall's new Twitter account, well, not new, but new info on it, he's updated it to reflect what Rice has said, meaning it's probably even more fake, because he's revising it to fit with a more common sort of stuff that we kind of acknowledge is true. But the one piece of information that really got me interested is a tweet from Maximilian Dude. Now, for those of you who don't know, Maximilian is a big-time fighting game sort of community guy. He does videos and all that, and he actually has a job at Iron Galaxy working on Killer Instinct. Now, despite this, he also has close ties with Capcom, specifically the Marvel vs. Capcom games, because he was not hired, but commissioned, or he worked with Capcom to make a series called Assist Me Retro or whatever, but it was he did an Assist Me series, which is all sort of a sitcom plus Marvel vs. Capcom tutorial video, but then he did some with Capcom for Marvel 1. But the interesting thing is he recently tweeted out that there's one piece of info from the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite leak that I know personally can't be true. He says, I can't say much for the rest, but it invalidates everything. Now, what this says to me is that there's a notable character that was explicitly said to be missing, and two of the characters that were on the leak that were missing were Zero and Amaterasu. Now, my feelings on Amaterasu coming back are actually pretty slim. She is one of my mains in Marvel 3. I absolutely love playing as Amaterasu. However, I think for the style that Marvel Infinite is going for, as well as the direction I feel like the game is going to go towards, it wouldn't make much sense, especially with there not being an Okami 3 coming out, and Okami Den not being the best game. However, the character I really do feel like will be back in is Zero. Now, there has been some talk about, well, if X is in, why would Zero be brought back? It'd be since Zero sort of replaced X in Marvel 3, we should obviously put X in, but not Zero. However, I feel like this tweet, and especially because Maximilian is known for having not really an affinity, but he does like to play as Zero. He does like Zero as a character. So I do feel like the fact that he notably goes to this one says to me that he, obviously has ties with Capcom and has obviously seen the game already. He wouldn't, be tweeting this if he didn't. He's not a known fighting game liar like some people in the community. However, I do feel like that is one piece of evidence that Zero will be back, because it is a character that he knows and he recognizes. You know, he's played Okami and he likes the character enough to make Benny the dog in his Sesame series be Amaterasu, but I don't feel like he's big enough that would be a red flag for the roster, right? I feel like this would be. In addition, there are several other things. So number one, he's a finished character. Looking at, you know, how he was in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom to Marvel 3. They took him from Tatsunoko, polished him up a bit moveset-wise, and then that gave us him in Marvel 3. And as we've seen in actually Maximilian's comparison video, it's a very good video that directly compares footage of Marvel 3 to Marvel Infinite, it's very clear to see that even though they're not probably using the same engine per se, they already have a lot of the Capcom characters made, in which they just take the frame data or the skeleton models. I don't know what you'd call them. I'm not a professional. Like, I've worked in the game industry, but not that close in the game industry. They'd obviously take that stuff and import it over. So, I feel like Zero he'd be easy to bring back in. All you'd have to do is change him up, balance him a bit, because, you know, Zero's always a little overpowered, but just take him, balance him up. I'd say probably differentiate him a bit from X, because obviously there'll be some crossover. I say remove his buster entirely and make him just a sword-focused character. But the other big thing is that in the Project Cross Zone games, X and Zero have been team members, and they do these big two-man combos, much like in Marvel Infinite, where you can have one guy doing a combo, the other one hops in and does a combo, and then you hop back and do another combo into a hyper combo. That's pretty much exactly how Project Cross Zone works, 1 and 2. And I feel like they've really sort of set up this idea of having these two characters as a unit, if you will. And there's going to be a couple definite, like, I'm not going to say canon units, but there's going to be some preset teams for Marvel Infinite, I'm sure. Much like with Marvel 3, there were trophies for playing as all Street Fighters or all X-Men. There's going to be something similar for this, where you're going to get characters who are naturally going to want to be pairs. Now, I'm not saying that every game is going to have a pair to it, but I definitely feel like it's going to make sense for there to be some characters who are naturally going to be paired with another one. And while I'd like Tron Bonne to be back, I feel like thematically, I'd much rather have Zero. And if Sigma is playable, number one, his counterpart wouldn't be X. That wouldn't make sense. Why would these two be working together? Unless it's like pre-Maverick incident, but whatever. Sigma would obviously go with Ultron. They would be rivals / partners. And that goes to, again, the fact that we've heard that the Mega Man X universe is apparently very important to the story. I mean, Sigma is obviously one of the villains, X is a character, and we've already seen a stage, which I feel like I've actually talked to a number of people, and they've all sort of agreed that they think this stage is a mashup between Asgard and Neo Arcadia / Giga City / whatever you want to call it. It has many names. The city from the intro to Mega Man X. Looking at how the highway looks, looking at how the buildings look, but mixed with Asgard. So as such, I feel like it would make a lot of sense to have Zero in the game. At least in the story, because like the first location they've shown off, he's there. And if his story model is there, if his, moveset is done, I don't see why they wouldn't. Plus, to be able to play as X and Zero together in a fighting game is something that I feel like a lot of fans are probably they've been wanting forever. And if this leads into a Mega Man X9, I'd be super down. We do know that for 2017, we are getting a Mega Man TV show on Disney XD. We are getting a new Mega Man game that will be a a tie-in game for that TV show on Disney XD, as well as just some more general sort of anniversary type events that are happening with Mega Man X and Mega Man itself. So I feel like it would make a lot of sense to have these at least 3 Mega Man reps. Whether Tron Bonne is back, I don't know. However, I'm sure X and Sigma are in. If you put in Zero, I feel like that's a good trio. I don't feel like Mega Man needs 4, and I am a huge Mega Man fan, but obviously if this game is going to have a smaller roster, it would make sense to have this 4 Mega Man reps. I feel like 3 reps maximum is a good size for each series. But of course, we'll have to see, and with DLC apparently being a major thing according to Rice, who knows, we could get the 3 in the base game, potentially more later. In fact, Zero himself could be DLC. We'll have to see. I'm excited for it, though. I'm excited to see what happens, and let's hope for the best. Now, of course, this begs the question, you know, who will voice Zero and X? Because, as we know, Zero's current voice actor, according to Capcom, is Johnny Young Bosch, who, you know, that's also Nero. So we'll have to see what happens there, and especially because we don't have a voice actor for X currently. X has not been voiced since Mark Gatha retired, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I feel like Sigma's pretty easy to replace, but we're gonna have to see what they're gonna do for the voices. I'm kind of worried, because I'm worried that we'll go back to bad dubbing of X, because I did like the Ocean Studio group, Lucas Gilbertson, who did Zero, and Mark Gatha, but of course one of them retired, and the other one was not brought back, and I don't think they're doing any more dubbing out of Canada, so we will have to see. Thank you all for watching this very speculative video. I'm thinking of doing these every time I have a thought. I think my next video I've done kind of stayed on the Marvel side, I mean the Capcom side. I think my next time will be a Capcom side video. So, feel free to leave some comments on characters from the Marvel side you'd like to see and why, and I'll give my opinions on them as well. So thank you all for watching, guys, and we are going to be back for some more Marvel news later. Ciao!